Despite having many issues in his star-studded life, Dewey Cox becomes a national hero because of his incredible musical performances. He leads a life full of parties, yet he is well known everywhere. He also sleeps with a lot of women. However, later, he eventually wins the affection of Darlene, a seasoned support singer. Stick around to the end to see how this story plays out. Hello and welcome to Comedy Recap. Today we will give you a recap of the film Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. Spoilers ahead. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. The movie starts with the opening scene of an assistant looking for Dewey Cox, where he finds him in a shadowy area, all calm. The assistant says his name in confusion, Mr. Cox? Where, right after, Sam enters the screen and guides the assistant to give a moment to Mr. Cox, since he needs to think about his entire life before he plays. We are now taken back to a memory of Dewey Cox where the event takes place at Springberry, Alabama in 1946. Inside a small farmhouse, we can see a young Dewey Cox seeing his brother Nate play the piano passionately. Dewey asks his brother, after his piano session finishes, to come and play with him, where Nate replies right after their dad enters the front door that he can't since he needs to practice more. Their dad replies to Nate that he can't practice all the time and that he was already perfect. Both the brothers are seen walking outside in the next scene, where Nate asks Dewey about what he wants to become when he grows up, where Dewey says that he never really had thought about it. And Nate, with full of hopes, replies that he'll become a great composer, a professional baseball player, and an astronaut, since he doesn't want to waste his long life ahead of him. They are later seen to be chased by a bull, tossing a snake, riding a horse and a tractor, and Nate making a giraffe sculpture made from metal. In the barn, both brothers are seen playing with covered machetes, where Dewey accidentally manages to cut his brother in half. Nate, somehow alive, tells Dewey to become twice as better than him in the future for both of them in case he dies. The doctor in the next scene tells Dewey and his family that Nate cannot be saved, where Dewey's father enrages and reminds Dewey that the wrong kid had died. Dewey loses his sense of smell for some reason. Dewey's mother tells him to go to the store and grab some stuff. Dewey is seen going to the store where he confronts two old men playing blues guitar. He asks what it was, and after liking it, he asks the men whether they could teach him to play. Dewey picks up the guitar and dramatically starts playing and singing like a professional. Now Dewey moves on to imagine a memory from his high school, back in 1953. Dewey's mother is looking for him and finds him with his band buddies preparing for a show. The show starts with the average acts of ball juggling and tap dancing, where later, Dewey enters the spotlight with his band to play a song. After 10 seconds of playing, all the young teenagers are seen to be dancing and enjoying the music, while the adults are against this act of music and compare it with it being the act of the devil. The priest confronts Dewey and his family to repel such acts. Dewey decides that it's time he moves out and goes somewhere more promising. Dewey is then seen to be working as a janitor at Leroy's Lounge, which is a music club. Dewey is seen running after Mr. Chad, who is the lead singer, and reminds him that he can also play the guitar. Dewey is then seen going back to his room where his wife is there with his child. Edith, his wife, tells him to move back to the country where her father can manage a job for him. Mr. Chad's hand is seen to be injured after the manager of the club asks if anyone could play the guitar, and Dewey steps up to take his place. Dewey is seen later to be playing a racially sensitive song where surprisingly the audience is seen to appreciate his talent on the guitar. Dewey, after being appreciated for his talent, goes big with his new recorded song. The song is being played all around the city, and then the country. Dewey goes home and confronts his wife, where she is seen with two more children of Dewey. We now are moved to a memory where he is preparing for his turn on the show. Dewey tensions up when he realizes that he is going to play after the likes of Elvis Presley and Buddy Holly. Dewey, after confronting the memory of his brother Nate, reminding him that he still believes in him, goes to the spotlight for his turn to play. The audience seems to love Dewey and his band. After the show ends, Dewey is tempted by Sam to try out drugs after catching him in a room smoking. Dewey, in his room with a robe on, along with Sam and a bunch of girls, get a knock on his door, where he finds that his pa outside, who tells him that his mother had died by falling out the window due to his song playing on the radio. Miserable Dewey later finds himself now attracted to cocaine, which also again was suggested to him by Sam. Dewey now is seen to be aggressively playing music which is in more of a punk rock format. A young, beautiful girl named Darlene Madison walks to him and asks to sing in a duet with him, which he was looking for. In the next scene, they are seen to be singing together and slowly, with time, start to fall in love together. Darlene, being a religious woman, doesn't allow Dewey to sleep with him before marriage. Dewey and Darlene get married after spending more time together with others than performing shows together. After, on the bed with Darlene, Dewey's first wife walks in and catches him red-handed. After fighting with his first wife, Dewey's wife decides to leave him with his children and his pet monkey. Dewey, now again, all depressed, moves on to pills again, suggested by Sam. Dewey is caught by cops buying drugs from a man and is imprisoned. At the prison, Dewey is faced with a man who suggests he take him to rehab. Darlene walks in to meet him, and they awkwardly manage to finally have sex. Dewey, now back to his usual self, is performing great again, and decides now to move to India to introduce his music to them. Dewey, now in India, meets with a bunch of people and is also introduced to LSD. Dewey is now seen recording another song at the studio, which now is in an indie format. Dewey manages to now try another drug, PCP, where he goes wild and is seen climbing at top of a building and screaming, "I'm Zeus." And yes, now his second wife Darlene also leaves him. Now it's the 70s, and Dewey is performing pop songs. Dewey is now in an interview where he gets questions asked about his family and his life. Dewey realizes that he had been finding love from other people, yet what he actually required was love and approval from his father. So he went to his pa and asked him for his approval. His pa, not forgiving him, decided to fight him with a machete. The last swing that his father took at him, where Dewey dodged, and the machete managed to swing back at his father's belly and cut his father in half, same as Nate. His father, with half his body, asked for forgiveness. After his pa died, Dewey, all enraged, started to hit his buddy from the band and went insane until finally Dewey's firstborn son walked in and asked to play catch with him, which made Dewey calm down and took the decision to play. Dewey spent the next few years with his family until finally his second wife, Darlene, also showed up and they both fell in love again. Astonishingly, Dewey got his sense of smell back. In the next scene, we can see Dewey, all old as a grandpa. The son of an old manager came to Mr. Cox. He shows him a video of the current genres of music. Dewey agrees to perform a show with the rapper, and he successfully manages to do so. He rejects the women seducing him, and also rejects Sam for taking more pills, as he realizes that he didn't want to drift again from his family. Dewey goes to his dress room, where he meets his brother, ma, pa, his other self, and his female self. Back from all flashbacks, we can see old Dewey Cox coming from the shadow and going on to the spotlight performing his next show after 25 years of not playing or singing. Dewey Cox died 3 minutes after the show and lived an inspiring life from 1936 to 2007. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.